Hi guys, Gijoe here, and welcome back to my bunker here in Atlanta, Georgia. So today we're going to talk to you about air and naval facilities or bases for your map. These two here I got at shapeways.com, and on the left is the Naval Base. And it may look familiar, you may have seen it on some of General Hand Grenades videos. And to the right is the Airbase, of course. Now, this white plastic is what they come in, and they come in kind of cubes that you have to kind of clip off, and then you have to kind of get all the little flashing off of the bottom. Like, for instance, I don't know if you can see this, but see that little flashing right there? Yeah, so you have to kind of use an X-Acto knife or something and get that off, and then I kind of sand the bottom so they lay flat and not scratch my map. But I haven't primed them yet, but I'm going to do that here in a little bit, and I'll show you that process. But just to kind of get an idea of what it looks like on the map, I went ahead and set up all the air bases. So you can see how they kind of tower over the map. Make it really, really easy to see your planes, or your air bases rather, and how you can get from one point to the next. Of course, they're going to be painted and weathered, but definitely a lot better than these cardboard cutouts that you get out of box that are like impossible to pick up. So let's go over here to the Philippines, and I'll show you what a situation might look like on a territory with both the naval and air base. So up next is I'm going to prime them, so I'll take you in here and show you how I am priming them, and then the final process of painting and weathering. Okay guys, so I just primed my air and naval bases, and the primer I used was the same primer I used for some of my other Shapeways pieces, like my battleships and aircraft carriers, as well as a few other pieces. Oh, as well as my facilities. So you may have seen my factories sitting. These are Shapeways factories, the major industrial complex. So this is the same primer that I used for this, so I know it's going to work well. And so I, of course, sprayed this. And once this all dries, I am going to paint it. And I think I'm going to paint it maybe like a copper, an aged bronze kind of look that I saw on Siredblood's table that I really, really liked. So nothing fancy, just kind of spray, and make sure you have good ventilation, of course. But the primer I'm using is Fine Surface Primer by, it's a light gray, and it is by Tamiya, I believe. Yeah, the two red and blue star. It's Tamiya Surface Primer, light gray. Okay, so let's get these painted up in copper, and then we'll do some aging and weathering. Okay, so I've done a couple prototypes of spraying it with copper and then kind of weathering it a little bit, like aged bronze. And I thought before I show you the process, I'd show you my final product. So here you have one of my major industrial complexes, and it kind of has a copper, bronzy, aged kind of look, very metallic. So it looks like these things are made out of metal. The lighting's not great in here, but let's go to the other side of the map, see if you can see a little bit better over here, the lighting. So here's one from Japan. So that was my test. So it definitely has like an aged bronze look that's starting to tarnish with a little bit of green on it. So very, very cool. I'm putting it on this chip because I want to see what it looks like on the map, and it's not quite dry yet. But so I'm gonna take you into my shop here and show you how I did this. You can kind of see one of my air bases. It's kind of looking I'm looking on the camera, and on the camera it looks like it's just like solid brown or solid black, but that's not the case. If you're looking here live, I don't know if you can see it, but you see, you know, it looks very brassy. You see some of the copper shining through. You can see a little bit of the green, like the corrosion. So it definitely has a very cool, weathered, aged look. So I'm very, very happy with these. All right, so let's go to the shop and I'll show you how I did this process. Okay, so what I did, of course, is after I primed them, I painted all of my minor industrial complexes, my majors, my naval bases, and my air bases with this copper paint, this Rustoleum. I'll show you here. Let me back up a touch. So I just went to Home Depot, paid I think about $4 a can. I got Rustoleum, a very bright copper, shiny finish, very fast drying. And then I just sprayed every single piece that I have. So I'm gonna kind of pan up here a little bit. You can see I've got my naval bases all lined up along the side. And then over here I've got my air bases. All my air bases, and then some of my minors and majors right here. Now, in order to get that aged look, like oxidation, you need to also have some acrylic paint. This is what Siredblood recommended. It is Viridian green acrylic paint. That's very important. This is by Deco Art Americana. And he used a different brand, but essentially it's the same process. Just make sure it's Viridian if you want this look. And that it is acrylic paint also. Now what I did first was I put the acrylic paint, I just kind of took a makeup sponge and let's go over here a little bit. All right. Kind of poured a little bit out on there. Get a little holder here. So this is on the straight copper. I don't know if you can see how shiny that is. Probably not, the lighting's not great. Kind of dab this, take a little bit of the excess off, and I just kind of started hitting a spot or two. Okay. And then after that, sorry, I'm kind of getting out of the... After that, I'm going to come back, kind of dab it off to absorb it a little bit. Now what I noticed, I don't know if this is showing, but when I did it like that, it didn't quite make it as dark as I wanted. It still kind of shows kind of shiny, which I don't mind it being shiny in a couple spots. I just don't want the entire thing to be shiny. So it's like shiny copper with green on it. So then what I decided to do, to give it a little bit more of the aged bronze kind of look, I then got another can of paint. Let me back up here. Rustoleum, this is aged copper, still from Home Depot. Brilliant metal finished. And what I did was, I did kind of a second layer. So, and I don't want to cake it on. I just kind of spritz a little bit, and it just kind of takes a little bit of that shine off to make it look more like a aged brass. So that's about all it takes. And if you hold that up, I don't know if you can see that well, but I can see some copper shining through, but yet it's got a little bit of that brown hue or that aged copper. And so with this process, like I said, I did the copper spraying, then I put the acrylic green paint on, and then I put the aged copper spray on top. I decided not to do that process. This is a finished product right here. And what I did was I did the copper first, then I sprayed the aged copper, and then I put on the green acrylic paint. So I think I like the way it looks with that process. So through my experiment, I would recommend, if you like this look, is step one after priming, or step one prime, step two spray with copper Rustoleum bright shiny copper paint here from Home Depot. Let it dry overnight completely. Then the next day, spray this, more of a aged copper. And once you do that, like I just sprayed this a few minutes ago. Once you do that, then you can come and add your little green and just kind of hit some highlights. And that's what gives it more of the aged copper. So, and it gives a little bit more depth to it, I think, having a couple different layers on there. You've got your copper, sorry if that was out of the screen. You've got your copper, bright copper, and you've got your aged copper. Whoops. And then you add a little bit of the green acrylic paint to kind of give it that tarnished look. So that's the process. So I'm going to finish this up and get these on the board and let you see what it looks like. Okay, so I've finalized my major and minor industrial complexes as well as my naval and air bases, and I have placed them on the map. And let's just do a brief flyover. You can kind of see how my air bases, that's an air tower. Very easy to note across the board. The bases. On this video, it looks a little bit darker than they look in person. You can see a little bit of the copper shine through in live. But on the video, it looks a little dark. But anyway, just thought I'd kind of let you see how this looks. Very, very happy. This is kind of Siredblood's technique, although I don't know if he does it exactly this process. I don't know if he uses this exact process. I've noticed on his, there's a little bit of like a blacky, tarry kind of look, which looks so awesome. So I'm not sure if I did some things different there, but you can definitely see, you know, how they're definitely weathered and aged, and so they definitely fit this weathered kind of map. Kind of an old world map rather, with the weathered pieces. So I think it definitely complements it, and I hope that helps. And like I said, I will put a link in the description below to where I got the air bases and the naval bases, as well as my major and minor industrial complexes. All of them were from Shapeways, and I'll also list the paints that I got. All of them were from Home Depot. So, all right, guys, hope you enjoy. Hope this helps, and let me know what you think. Thanks.